What's up, everybody? Joshua Yehl here. And as a lifelong fan of Pokemon, I'm used to seeing other games in the monster tamer genre that are clearly inspired by Pokemon, like Temtem and Ni no Kuni, but nothing made me do a double take quite like Palworld, aka Pokemon with guns. The first trailer of what looked like a heavily armed Pokemon trainer using a terrified little pocket monster as a bullet shield was a meme come to life. While the ridiculous concept is good for a laugh, what's not so much of a laughing matter is how developer Pocket Pair has seemingly copied elements of more than a few Pokemon designs when making its own creatures for Palworld called Pals. Well, I've got a bone to pick with you, pal, because making a game with creatures inspired by Pokemon is one thing, but ripping them off is too much, which, as I will demonstrate, is the case in some examples. I am not a game designer, but the inspiration for Pokemon comes from all around us. See those keys on the counter? That could be the idea for a new Pokemon. And that ice cream cone? New Pokemon. That literal pile of trash? You get the idea. The fact that Palworld doesn't have wholly original designs for whatever reason seems wild to me. What's more, by not doing so, it potentially opened itself up to legal action from the Pokemon Company and, even worse, criticism
from rabid Pokemon fans like me.
The CEO of Pocket Pair has denied allegations of plagiarism. While Pikachu doesn't appear in Palworld exactly, there's no denying that many of the designs are strikingly similar, whether it's elements of different Pokemon thrown together to make a pal that's a bit Frankenstein's monster, to more wholesale similarities. It's at least enough to get on the Pokemon Company's radar. The company made a statement saying, quote, "We intend to investigate and take appropriate measures to address any acts that infringe on intellectual property rights related to Pokemon." Well, let's do our own research and you can be the judge. Before I get to the comparisons, it's important to point out I have no issue with the fact that Palworld has elements of Pokemon's gameplay. Countless games do the same thing, and anyone who has played the first 15 minutes of Palworld can plainly see that while it does have monster taming, its survival gameplay, crafting mechanics, and the lack of glaring technical issues make it clear that it's otherwise nothing like a Pokemon game. For me, it's all about the designs of the Pokemon themselves, the creatures I've spent years of my life getting to know and love, and to see some of my favorites presented in the way that they are in Palworld genuinely breaks my heart, because I'm really in touch with my feelings like that. Okay, so let's get to the comparisons. This first group is full of designs where you can tell which Pokemon inspired each pal, but the pal is a wholly original design. There are many of these, so these are just a few to show as an example. The pal called Sparkit is obviously meant to evoke the Pokemon mascot Pikachu. It's a small, yellow, furry electric creature, but it's still very much its own design. This little Firefox pal named Foxparks obviously evokes the little Firefox Pokemon Vulpix, and the flaming tail bears a striking similarity to Charmander's. But while these similarities are easy to see, they're nothing more than just that, similarities. This is a great example of a pal that puts its own unique spin on a familiar Pokemon concept. The same goes for the blue penguin pal Pengullet, which reminds me of the blue penguin Pokemon Piplup. The same idea with distinctly different execution. Now, most of Palworld's 100+ monsters are original designs like the ones we just went over, but others bear a much stronger resemblance to specific Pokemon designs, although you might need to look a little bit closer to spot the similarities. For example, these next pals have faces that look just like those of certain Pokemon. For instance, Mazarina's sleepy face is the exact same as Snorlax's, except they reverse the direction of the teeth. Grintail has the same facial features as Galarian Meowth, save for the pupils. Dumud's face is the same derpy one as Slowpoke's, right down to the way the mouth hangs open. The only difference is Dumud has teeth on both top and bottom, whereas Slowpoke only has one set. These next pals are largely unique, save for signature elements from certain Pokemon. The crown on King Paka's forehead looks a whole lot like Empoleon's trident beak. Plus, they also share a tall, egg-like body shape when viewed from the front. It's easy to see that the Pokemon Zebstrika inspired the PAL called Univolt, but enough is different that you probably would not mistake one for the other. This archer pal called Robinquill has the same color scheme, cape, and bow and arrow weapon as the bird Pokemon Decidueye. Toko Toko is a weird bird with a green, yellow, black, red design, much like the Pokemon Xatu. It also has a similar beak to Toucanon. Alright, next up, the pals in this group look like Pokemon doppelgangers, where the base model is similar, but the design on top is different. The humanoid body and pointy ears of the dog warrior pal known as Anubis looks almost the same as the Pokemon Lucario, although it's dressed in Egyptian armor. Grisbolt has the same body shape, color, and design elements as Electabuzz. The insect pal named Elizabeth has the same snatched waist, long arms with pointy bug hands, and dressed-like abdomen as the bee Pokemon Vespiquen. Astagon has a very similar build and shape as Mega Aggron. Incineram looks like someone used a Firestone on a Zoroark. Ever wonder what Garchomp would look like if it were an electric bug type? Palworld's Ozark gives a pretty good idea with its horns, wings, and a new paint job. Alrighty, next up, this is where pals start to look a lot more like the Pokemon they're based on. The Jet Dragon pal named Jetragon is a dead ringer for the Jet Dragon Pokemon, Latios and Latias. Sorry, giving Wooloo a haircut isn't enough to make Lamball pass as a completely new design. Fangalope just looks like Cobalion got caught in a strong wind. Broncherry is pretty much just a Meganium with a new hairdo. The pal called Wixen might look like it was inspired by Delphox, and in a sense, it might be, but it actually has more in common with a fan-made alternate design of Delphox. And this is Creamus, but just because you drop an Eevee into a bowl of whipped cream doesn't mean it's suddenly a brand new creature. Moving along, the pals in this group appear to be built from different parts of several Pokemon. Verdash could pass as a copy of Cinderace that was colored green, then they stuck on the ears of Leafeon and the weird neck design of Hisuian Arcanine. Azurobe is a blue snake-like pal sporting a big head of blue hair, and it seems to have Superior's body and Primarina's hair. Add Lilligant's crown and Meganium's eyeballs to Goodra's body, color it green, and you pretty much have Dinosaur. To me, this is Mega Gardevoir's ballroom gown look with Blossom's flowers on top. Whoever created this unholy atrocity combining Mewtwo's thick legs with Salazzle's feminine wiles will never see heaven. It may be pal number 69, but this horror is anything but nice. And finally, these pals are almost mirror images of their Pokemon counterparts. Boltmane is essentially just a shiny Luxray. However, it is worth noting that while Boltmane was seen in preview footage, it is not currently available in the game. It could have been scrapped, or it may be added at a later day. Only time will tell. Direhowl is little more than a recolored Lycanroc, and you can't convince me otherwise. Okay then, that is all from me. These are all the pals I thought had some similarities to Pokemon. Were there any others that caught your eye? And how do you feel about all this? Let me know in the comments. And for more Pocket Monsters of all kinds, keep it here on IGN.